Alright, response video of sorts. I guess a reaction video we'll call it, because yeah, I'm not going to be polite enough for it to be posted as a response, probably. Yeah, it's a response to that dprjones guy, who I really don't like. I don't, they're all part of this Defenders of Reason or something, this little club, and yeah, I really don't like any of those people except for Karina. A little spooky. So we might have to be enemies someday. Me and Karina have to go to war. I have to kill her with my tank. But anyway, yeah, alright, so it makes this stupid video, there's no objective morality. Bullshit. I mean, what a pile of crap, this stupid argument. And there's different ways of phrasing this, obviously. Is there absolute truth? Is there some definition of objective value? Because that's what morality is based on, right? Value. As soon as you say there's value in the universe, you're going to have to say there's morality in the universe. Because morality is merely an expression of respect for the value equation, the 1 plus 1 minus 3, whatever equation of value that exists out there in the universe, the truth. So, I mean, I'll make the simple argument that I think it's really improbable that it's a possibility, within the realm of reasonable possibility, that there's no difference between me sticking a knife in a potato and me sticking a knife in a kitten. Alright, and that's basically to say there's no objective morality or value, is to basically say that those two things are the same. A potato and a kitten are the same thing. Or a human being, it doesn't matter. Pick your choice. That a human being is nothing but a rock. That all this consciousness stuff, the ability to feel, doesn't mean anything. It has no, there's no consequential meaning. I mean, that just is on its face irreconcilable with every bit of evidence we can glean from our own experience as a sentient organism. So unless you're willing to say that, you can't say there's no truth regarding value. And that's basically what the argument is. Now, whether or not we're able to, with our, our incomplete knowledge, to define every circumstance what the right thing to do is, what the obedience to the value equation, what the right solution is. That's a whole different argument. I mean, obviously, he presents as evidence against objective morality the fact that there's complex circumstances. So he uses the problem that people faced during Karina, the hurricane, regarding what do you do? I mean, do you kill people, or do you try to save two people, and we could all do those thought experiments, There's only so many lifeboats. Who do you put on the lifeboats? And quite obviously we make efforts to ascertain value. Who has the most potential? Who's really going to do the most with their opportunity at a new life and that kind of thing. So there's definitely ways of ascertaining probabilities. But yeah, we can't do it absolutely because we don't have all the information. We don't know where all the ricochets are going to go and everything else. But it's a question that will be answered in hindsight, so to speak. If we ever did attain absolute knowledge, complete knowledge, then yeah, we'd be able to do the math. But we're only able to do it with these variables now, with these probabilities. It's probably going to be the right thing to do. That if you're back in the 30s and you're having lunch with Adolf Hitler, it's probably a good idea to have a really horrible accident with your fork, and have it accidentally somehow smash into his brain. It's probably going to be a good thing, but you can't say for sure, because maybe we needed stupid old fucking Hitler to fuck things up so some worse fucking thing didn't happen. But you just don't know. So all we have to do is all we can do is go with that probability question. What's the probability of the outcome? And to do that, we just have to define some basic minimums. What's suffering worth, and what's getting your jollies worth? Because that's really what it comes down to in most cases when there's a when there's a decision to be made, the decision's usually about, well, how much suffering are you going to risk for what, orgasmic reward? And for most people, I mean, I'd say that question, their balance, their way of answering it is fucking ludicrous. Especially when you get into things about, when you're talking about one person's joy in one country versus another person's misery in some other country. Because then it's really easy for the joy people to discount the misery over there and overinflate the value of their own pleasure. So that's where we get into this whole exploitation thing and the slavery thing and the preposterous idea that, oh, let's spend a couple of $100,000 keeping some American alive, when that same money could have actually factually saved 100 lives or more in some other country. And so you've basically said that one American orgasm is somehow more valuable than 100,000 or something orgasms in some other country. I mean, this is how silly the math gets. But there is an objective truth regarding the fact that suffering does in fact suck. It has value. And then all we have to do is, the other part of the equation is figuring out what's this addiction thing and the desire thing, because that's really the complex one. That's the one that doesn't have any real balls. I mean, the suffering thing, you suffer a little bit, you're going to know how real that fucker is. But the desire thing, what are we chasing? Beyond an addiction, an illusion of value. I've made this argument, but it needs to keep being made until people confront it. But your perception of value, your sense of want, need, desire, is an illusion where your suffering is really quite real. But you're really not measuring pain and pleasure on the scales. The scales are being distorted. There's not like, here's my lifetime of suffering, here's my lifetime of orgasmic type joy or satisfaction, and we put these on the scales and say, well, what's life worth? People aren't doing that, because desire, their addiction to this pleasure thing, is weighting that side down. It's making it seem like it's much denser, it has much more substance and character than it actually has. But your want, your desire really it's just made out of shit. It's an illusion. And so theoretically it might be a fact that in any equation where you're going to be balancing some person's future little trivial joys, petting their little grandkid on the head and saying, "Heidi there, fella," some little bullshit moment like that, yeah, you don't pay $100,000 for it. And you don't lose your leg for it, and you don't go through horrific, horrible treatment or some other kind of bullshit. You just don't. You accept your broken toaster fate, and you die when you're supposed to fucking die, and you die efficiently. So eventually the human race is going to have to deal with these issues because they're wasting so much money now. I mean, people are just so unrealistic. They think they can. Yeah, everything has to be paid for, and all this healthcare crap, it ain't fucking free. You gotta pay these people to wipe your ass. You gotta pay for the infrastructure. You gotta pay for the hardware. You gotta pay for surgeries and people and all this shit. And so, if you're gonna want $100,000 or $200,000 worth of that stuff, then you have to realize that you have to have $100,000 or $200,000 less of a house to live in, because it can't come from nothing. But anyway, that argument, I won't bother with the economic argument, but yeah, bullshit to this idea there's no such thing as a truth in the universe to be discovered regarding value. It's out there. Yeah, the religious fucktards are taking a huge shortcut and just letting a god tell them what the absolute truth is. But even so, like I said, even if you know the values, there's still going to be questions. You could say, "Thou shalt not kill." But if there's somebody ready to stick a knife in somebody, yeah, I mean, do you kill them? Because you're saving another life. I mean, you would have committed a kill if you let it happen. If you just let it happen, then you're an accomplice to the murder. So, yeah, but there's always going to be complex questions like that. And it's just bogus to say because the value equation is complicated because of the circumstances that somehow, there, I've proven there's no such thing as an objective value. bullshit. So anyway, yeah, it's enough video. Should be out of time. Yeah, there, I'm out of time. Alright, so anyway, just the subject's going to keep coming up. No one's terribly interested, but it's probably the most important subject in the world, and of course nobody wants to talk about it. But yeah, everybody's an asshole. I really hate everybody today. And I'm wearing a hat because my hair is just, it's outrageous. So fuck it. Yeah. Alright, enough of video. Until next time.